Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to episode 481 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm filling in for your typical host, Howard Kravitz, tonight. I'm Noah Maher. You've probably seen me on a couple other shows on this network, but very, very excited. Glad I'm filling in. I'm very excited to talk some Haskell Stakes action. We've got races 4, 6, 7, 11, and 12 on tap for you guys that we'll be diving into shortly, but appreciate you guys joining us on this this tape show that we are providing for you guys. Got a bunch of the crew coming in to Saratoga. I'm actually here right now. Got in yesterday afternoon as we are filming this on Wednesday afternoon, but very excited for the stakes action, not only at Monmouth, but here up at the spa as well. For those of you that, of course, are listening and watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, and that like button. We would greatly appreciate it. While you're at it, you can go ahead and follow us on our social media platforms. One of them including X, our handle at HHH Racing Pod. Of course, if you're a regular listener to the show, you obviously know about our regular Power Picks tip sheet. But one thing I do want to add, tonight is the final deadline for our Del Mar Power Picks tip sheets. There's a specific gentleman within the network that writes them. I don't know him all too well, but I heard he's pretty good at writing those. So I would, go by his word, listen to what he's got to write and what he's got to say. So go ahead and sign up for those pretty soon here. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Of course, we've got our fantastic tip sheet at our website and a bunch of stuff that our good buddy Pete Visco does for us. Unfortunately, he won't be joining us tonight, but you can go ahead and check out some of his work and some of the stuff that we've got going on at our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. And one more thing I do want to fill you in on, because we are here at Saratoga, of course, we're going to be bringing you some action from the first turn here at the spa. We've got Weekend Warriors 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Of course, the stakes action feature here at Saratoga on Saturday is the Duncan Diana. So we'll be talking about that, as well as some other races during that 2-hour period of time. And then Monmouth, of course, with some stakes action that we'll be diving into shortly. So very, very much looking forward to that. And speaking of, very much looking forward to the gentleman that's joining me tonight. He is from the Boston area. You've probably seen him on some other shows as well. And I'm actually going to see him fairly shortly. And his name is Mr. Paul Howard. Paul, what's going on?
Hey, Noah, yeah, God willing, in about 20 hours, I will be in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah. Talk about the haze and the weather we've had a little bit recently.
I don't want to jinx this, Noah. I put it in the text thread today. It's eerily reminiscent of 2023 when we had the wildfires. I remember specifically, I was driving down to Belmont, for the Belmont, but also to watch Cody's Wish run in the Met Mile. And we were driving, getting ready to go down on Friday, and they canceled racing, which was, we don't want to cancel. I mean, obviously, the safety they had to, but it's, I don't know, as I told you before we came on, if we were, because we don't run here in New England anymore, unfortunately, but if we were running in New England today, it would be probably a jump ball. I mean, I think maybe, but I'm hoping this blows somewhere else. I don't want to wish anything bad on anyone, but I wanted to get the hell out of Saratoga for sure. I'm going to note, as I drive west on the Mass Pike tomorrow, I'm going to note the sky, and hopefully it's going to get brighter as I go.
Well, please let us know. I know we've talked to a couple locals or people in the area. Some have said it's supposed to stay like this. Some have said it's supposed to improve. So I guess we'll see. Of course, we think about obviously the health and safety of equine athletes and everyone involved. But hopefully things do clear up, because obviously it's going to be a very good week to kick things off here at Saratoga. So looking forward to that. But you, my friend, we've got some action to talk about with the Haskell Stakes happening at Oceanport, New Jersey, and we'll get into that shortly. First race that we're going to be talking about is race 4. It's the Monmouth Cup. I mentioned earlier on the show, some of the bigger stakes are a little scattered throughout the card at Monmouth on Saturday. So we are jumping around a little bit. So make sure you've got your pen and paper and your PPs in front of you as well. Race 4 is where we start our discussion. It is the Monmouth Cup, Grade 3, $350,000 purse is mile and a 16th for the older boys. And one notable horse here. We don't have the morning lines, but I would be flat out shocked if this horse wasn't the morning line favorite. That's the number 4 Knightsbridge. Flavian Pratt comes in to ride. Bill Mott trains. Saffy's got 2 in here, including the 3 Alexander Helios and Skippy Longstonking. And then the other one to be noteful of is the number 1 Money Game in this field of 6. I'll get the picks up on the screen, and there they are. We're chalking out, Paul. I'm going 4-1-5. You're going 5. Or sorry, you are going 4-5-1. Paul, it just looks like on paper he's going to be a lot to handle.
I feel better now because I'm picking Knightsbridge.
Yeah.
But you were much more objective. Noah, I think there's a couple of interesting entries in this sequence, and this is one of them. Only because stretching out to a mile and an eighth. Now, I stuck with Knightsbridge last time, and I have no complaints. I thought he ran just fine. I don't know that there was a horse in the world that was going to beat Nysos at a mile on dirt for the Met Mile. Honestly, I don't want to keep bringing up Cody's Wish, even though there is a book signing Friday at the track, Noah. But it did remind me a little bit. Of how dominant he was in the Met Mile. So I just like this move. I think, at face value, the uninitiated will see, well, he quit at a mile. What about a mile and an eighth? As you know, a whole different scenario. You get Pratt to dole out that speed. And, it's going to be interesting to see what the Saffy horses do, Noah. I mean, is Skippy going to go, or is Saffy going to send Alexander Helios and Paco Reckless to make a run at Knightsbridge? But I just thought Knightsbridge ran perfectly fine last time. There's no reason he can't get a mile and an eighth being by Nyquist out of a Bernardini mare. And I think he gets back in the win column to Saturday.
I do too. And I know there's some distance limitations, but I mean, he's, like you mentioned, he's bred to run all day. So I don't think it's going to be much of a worry. I think a tepid pace at a mile and a 16th is a lot different than the pace that he had to endure last time going a mile. I mean, that's the fastest one-turn horses, maybe not even in the country, maybe even the world. I mean, those are some serious speed horses as well. And speaking of some serious people, we've got somebody to join in. Can you see him?
What does Paul Halloran know? What in the world? What's up, Paul?
He can't stay away, Noah. He just can't stay away.
Good luck to see you, Howard. Good luck to everyone on Haskell Day Saturday. We'll be at, I'm sure Noah's already talked about Weekend Warriors. Very excited about that. Live from the gazebo, the first turn outside of the 1863. But good luck to everyone on Haskell Day. And, of course, Paul, the weather's going to be fantastic, right?
Yeah, if we could see the sky, it'll be great.
Yeah, we've got a little yellow sky going on. I feel like I'm on Mars. Oof. All right, take care, everyone. Good luck.
See you, Howie.
Thanks, Howard. All right, we'll go ahead and get back to our conversation. But like I said, I mean, I'll go ahead and bring up the time, form, pace scenario here. I mean, am I supposed to be worried when he gets a setup like this, Paul? I mean, maybe Alexander Helios is the one from the Saffy barn that goes with him up front. But to be quite honest, is he even fast enough to go with him?
Well, that's just the thing. And again, interesting, Noah. I'm still not positive that Knightsbridge has to be on the lead. Of course, I thought that at Churchill, and the roof fell in. Although that race, in fairness to him, that race did, I don't know if the race fell apart or T.O. Elvis just blew it up. So if you really look at it, Noah, this horse has just run into 2 real buzzsaws the last 2 times out.
Oh, yeah.
And, look, Skippy, you can't give Skippy enough credit. $37,000 horses are in almost $6 million. Could go over $6 million Saturday. But, again, I was encouraged by Knightsbridge Met Mile. just because of the performance of Nysos. And to your point, I think the biggest reason to like him here is the expected pace scenario.
Yeah, and I wanted to pick Skippy second. I was a little disappointed, frankly, that he wasn't able to get the job done last time, because I know that's a pretty decent field he's facing, and Corporate Power is a pretty serious animal, but I just thought he had his sights set on him for a long time, and I wanted him to get by. And like you said, I think the pace scenario that he's going to endure on Saturday is a little bit different, not only what he got last time, but what he's gotten in his last couple of races, which obviously have proven to be some of his better races. You go back to the Pegasus. I mean, that pace was suicidal, completely set up for him that day. I thought he definitely had a good chance to have the run of the race last time. So maybe a little up against it from a pace scenario standpoint. Another one that's probably in that camp, but I want to maybe give him a try for second anyways, is Money Game, who you've gotten third. And hard to dismiss a horse that's 4 for 4 lifetime and really has done nothing wrong. This is a serious acid test, I will say, but I mean, every challenge he's been faced, he's answered. So I'm going to give him a shot for second.
Yeah, I would agree. A late developing horse, obviously only 4 starts as a 4-year-old, but 4 for 4. The post that post doesn't hurt. Being on the inside, going a mile and a 16th, and it'll be interesting. Monmouth typically does play to speed, so you would have jockeys thinking, I don't know that anyone wants to be too far out of it. It's not a place where races typically totally fall apart on the dirt, I guess is how I'd put it.
Yeah, and a lot of dirt courses are like that, but I think Monmouth especially definitely fits that bill for sure. We'll go ahead and move on. We're going to skip race 5. We will head to race 6. Race 6 is the Grade 2 Molly Pitcher Stakes. It's on the screen now. $500,000 purse. This is for the girls. We've got older fillies and mares going a mile and a 16th on the main track. Another notable favorite here. Again, we do not have the morning lines, but I assume that this horse would be your morning line favorite. That's the outside runner, Splendora, for Flavian Pratt and Bob Baffert, who scratched out of the Fleur de Lis just a couple weeks ago on Stephen Foster Day. She returns here, gets a dry track, gets an outside post, should be pretty tough to beat. And that's at least what we think, Paul. I'm going 7-6-1. Paul, you're going 7-2-1. Again, just a very formidable favorite that's probably just going to be too much for him, Paul, no?
Yeah, we talked about pace in the last race, Noah. The reason I landed here primarily is I think Splendora has a markedly bigger pace advantage than even Knightsbridge, because we talked about either of those, and apparently Timeform agrees with me, Noah. I mean, is that a huge gap to see on Timeform? You know what I mean? To not have a I don't know. I don't know how many lengths each chicklet is, but I just thought, and look, this, other than the Derby City Distaff, where she, admittedly did not run well, this horse has no bad races on her sheet. Went to the lead last time, was pressed and just kind of easily cleared. I just think, especially Noah, from out there, with the pace advantage and Pratt being able to see everyone else inside of her, I think she's going to be a handful in this race.
Yeah, she's funny because I feel like I've always been waiting for a spot for her where the distance limitations will get her at some point. I just don't think this is the spot. I mean, she's supposed to have things her own way. Some of the horses to her inside have some brief speed, but just not what she has. She's got some serious speed, and all she really has to do, I think, is break. If she breaks, able to outbreak the field, get the lead the first turn, kind of could be over from there. So nothing too creative here. The horse to her inside, I thought this is the horse you probably want to bet back and maybe could get some value out of last time, just because I don't know what happened in the Phipps, frankly. She was 7-2. She's probably still running. But the fact that they show up here, they bother to ship down to New Jersey within a relative time frame, it just seems like that was a one-off, and she's doing better now. Because you go back to her races 2 and 3 back, the race at Keeneland, I thought was very impressive when she was able to beat Eunomia that day. She's not going to be all that far off Splendora in here. I could just see it being a scenario where those two kind of go 1-2 around the track, and I don't have necessarily any distance limitations about her, just whether or not she can kind of get back to the races that she's shown her last couple starts and start her 5-year-old career as well. So I've got her second. You've got the 2 in second, who is the Chad runner, kind of the fresh face, the 2, Brant, Chad Brown, Gaffleone, big buyer last time, just kind of an acid test for her as well.
Yeah, Chad's obviously done very well at Monmouth. He's done very well everywhere, but done very well at Monmouth over the years. And the fact that this horse ran at Monmouth last time should be of no alarm. He runs a decent number of horses down there. I don't know if he was thinking of this race when she ran that last race, but certainly he was thinking of it after, because that was you could just see the number. Yeah, I think exactly what you just said. The fresh face. I think your 6 was my other horse, but there's a few others that I'm really not that interested in. So this 2 is certainly someone who, if Splendor is going to get beat, I think this is one of the ones that maybe she's just really good and we don't know it yet.
And I don't know what she is. Morning line, like I said, I don't think they've come out yet for these other races besides the Haskell. I would assume she's probably 4th choice. I mean, she's probably maybe vying for 3rd with the 1 runner.
Yeah, I was thinking like 5 to 1-ish. You think 4 to 1, 5 to 1, maybe? I mean, Chad, it's never going to be too high. A Chad coming off a big number, but
yeah, and she probably has more upside than Scalable, who is just as consistent as they get. I think you can kind of excuse her last couple efforts. Another one that kind of threw in a clunker in the Lodge for Rian. I actually liked her a little bit going into that race, and
me too.
She didn't really run all that well. And last time was 40 to 1 against 2 serious fillies and mares going 1 turn. Just something that she doesn't want to do. So she gets back to 2 turns inside post. I think it's going to be advantageous for her. Just don't know if she's really as good as Splendor or maybe even some others in here.
Do we have it? We don't have a jockey yet on her. Do you?
We don't. I didn't see one.
Don't like that.
Who would it be? A local guy?
Well, I'm just thinking of who's there.
Yeah.
Irad's there and he's riding.
Pratt's riding. Paco's already there.
Tyler's riding.
I saw Junior is up here for Saturday. Do you know about that, by the way? Is there a reason he didn't ship down for Knightsbridge?
You know what? I don't, but I'll find out as soon as I get to town.
I mean, he's one of those horses where I don't really think it matters who rides him.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting because Junior's ridden him basically his whole career, no?
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm going to look into that. I'm trying to see what he has up there.
Yeah, I haven't taken a close look at the Diana. I do know there's 4 Chads.
And he's not in the Diana.
Yeah,
he's in the car. He's on Quiet Street in the Coronation Cup, which is a Godolphin horse.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would make sense. But yeah, like I said, he's one of those runners where the guy who's on his back doesn't really matter a whole lot, at least to me. We'll go ahead and move on, Paul. We will go to race number 7. Race number 7 is the Grade 3 Matchmaker Stakes. A couple horses that we saw on the preview day for this just a few weeks ago or even a month ago, running back in some of these turf races, not necessarily this one, but the race that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. The United Nations, there's a couple horses in that as well. Matchmaker Stakes, Grade 3, mile and eighth on the turf, $300,000 purse. Fillies and mares going that 9 for a long distance. Not sure who the morning line favorite's going to be here. I would assume it's probably one of the Chads, either the 2 Greyouche or the 3 City Girl, one ridden by Pratt, one ridden by Tyler Gaffleone. And we ended up landing on City Girl, the number 3, coming out of some serious stakes races up here in New York, Paul. I'm 315. You are 312. And Paul, I'm sure you saw this. This is probably a replay that we need to show because she had some serious trouble last time out.
Yeah, wasn't it one of those cases where really nothing really went that right?
Yeah.
And not to mention, that was a really good field, Noah. That was on Belmont weekend. That was a good field, and it was the type of race where you could not afford a bad trip. We'll take a look. She's in the 6, I believe, right?
7.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, she does this for another long and a half. I mean, she's
rank and she's between horses, and now she's still rank. And it looked like when your kid rides the horse outside at the supermarket.
Yeah, it does.
Irad must have been saying, "What am I doing here?" And then the other part of that, Noah, is to get her settled. Now, not only you got to be last, but unless you want to go 8 wide, you have to be last, right?
Yeah.
So the good news is he ducks her down inside, but he's still last. Now, in fairness, he's only about 6 lengths off the lead, but there's a lot of horses in between, and she did some running late. You could see she's moving forward. Yeah. You can watch the gallop out if you want, for Howard's sake.
Let's do it.
See how she looks on the gallop out. Portfolio duration, they work at a pass going around again. Mm-hmm. And she gained 1 spot on the gallop out, Noah, so give Howard extra credit for that.
All right, I'll let him know when I see him after the show. But yeah, I mean, that was enough legitimate trouble for me to give her a pretty decent excuse in there. I know she got a pretty good trip after that. I mean, she was last in a race that held together pretty good, which I give her credit for. She did save some ground and got a pretty good ride from there from IRAD. But this is just an easier field. She likes to be a little closer than she was last time. I think that the distance is going to suit her well as well. There's just a lot of things in her camp, and I think you definitely would agree with that. The main threat, at least in my opinion, and it seems like you as well, is the Kentucky Invader, and that is Sweet Treasure, who's one that's just in raging form right now. And Paul, I think the most appealing thing about her is she can beat you multiple ways.
Yes, I think that's a good point, and I think this is again good spot. This is kind of they start the race in that chute, right? At Monmouth, going a mile and an eighth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you do want to get away from there. Right to the lead last time. I think, knew he was on the best horse last time and didn't want to screw around. And I think she's going to be forward here as well. I limited to, you could see 1, 2, 3. I like the inside horses here. Grayosh being very consistent, but this horse wins, right? Yeah. And so I do agree with you. She's done it both ways, but I think in this case, it's going to be more of a forward trip than a real come from behind trip.
I wanted to ask you about Grayosh because I just feel like she's been a little overrated. I don't know if that's maybe me not having a thing for her for a while. But is she in the camp of win contender, or do you kind of think it's 1-3 and maybe she can round out some exotics?
Well, she burns a lot of money, Noah. If you look at her, just look at the odds. She has not been over 4-1 the last 5 races. She won one of them, but she got bet. The thing is, she pretty much gets bet all the time. So you're not getting any great mutual when she doesn't. I agree. I mean, I'd love to own the horse, paying $25,000. My friend Sean Flanagan, Massachusetts guy, who typically pays well into the 6 digits for horses, paid $25,000 for this one. Is earned $355. So good for Sean. I would say, for me, she is more of a board horse than a win contender.
Yeah, and I would agree. I was between her and the 5 for third. To be quite honest, I think this race goes through either the 1 or the 3, but the 5 can make some noise. I think she's just an improving type who always comes with her run, probably a little pace compromised, just maybe not as much pace as she would prefer. But Sias gets booked here. Sias maybe will have her a little bit closer, being his first mount on her. in her career. So, like I said, I think she could maybe make some noise for second or third, but I think the race definitely goes through City Girl and Sweet Treasure for sure. Paul, 2 races to go. We will jump quite a few races. We will jump 8 races, 8, 9, and 10. We've got some serious stakes action in the form of these 2 races. Starts with the 11th, and that is the Grade 2 United Nations. Always comes up a pretty solid race, I think. I'll get this up on the screen here shortly. Let me go ahead and do this. Excuse me, everyone. I am working with one monitor today. And there it is. United Nations Grade 2, $500,000 purse, 1 3/8 miles. So they do go 3 turns on this Monmouth turf course. Field is down below. Favoritism probably going to be pretty close, or at least split between the number 4 Program Trading and the number 7 Just a Touch. Both horses that won their last starts. Just a Touch one that is in some serious form as of late. And Paul, looks like you've got him as well. I'm going 3-7-4. You are riding with Just a Touch. You're going 7-4-3, hoping that Just a Touch makes it 3 wins in a row on the grass.
Yeah, this is what I was referring to earlier, Noah, when I talked about interesting placements. I think this is the most interesting on the card, even though he has run on turf the last 2 races. Still, this is no disrespect to the Cape Henlopen, but this is a big jump. Although, visually, if you watch that Cape Henlopen, look, the horse had his way on the front end. I get it, 50 seconds, but when he was asked in the stretch, he really did take off. It's interesting, Noah. There's not a ton of pedigree yet. 3 siblings have won on the turf, and obviously on the sire side, Justify throws great turf horses. I was referring to the dam side. Mm-hmm. I think though, I do think the 4 is going to be the favorite though, Noah, over this horse. Okay. Just because it's a Chad, and so you'll see this horse relinquishes the lead. This is the 5 in the Guitar. I think it's the Guitar Racing.
Yeah,
Silks, right?
Yeah, that's him.
Yes. Yeah. And again, a nice trip. Had the lead, let the other horse go. But if you're watching the stretch, and again, I'm not positive, who's chasing. I know Vote No has done some running, but IRAD's just barely asking here, and I think it's probably around the 8th pole that after they straighten out. Well, now you'll see from the 16th pole in, and he just extends, and maybe horse was very successful, ran in the Derby, second in 2 Derby preps 2 years ago. Maybe he was a turf horse all along, just waiting, hey, how come you guys don't put me on the grass? I'm not sure what prompted Brad to do it. I know that Santa Anita handicap was not a good effort, grade 1 and no grade 1. To ship across the country to run like that was not a good effort. And, maybe he just figured, why not? Now's the time. And I just think, again, I'm banking on the fact that he is a real turf horse. He is as good as you would think. And, he's going to have to do some running to beat the 4. But I do think the 4 will clearly be the favorite over him.
Yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, it's got to be Chad money, right? I know.
I think so.
Back-to-back wins, but I would, like I said, I just, I don't know. I've always been on the fence with Just a Touch because I guarantee those connections, they had to have had their head shaking after the big cap, because after that, I just, it could have been interesting to see what they would have gone and what they would have done with him from there. Part of me thinks that he's maybe going to get exposed against some serious turf horses at some point, but part of me also thinks that maybe he's just kind of coming into his own. I mean, I don't see that there's no chance for him to take another step forward on the grass, and I think if he does that, he's probably a very likely winner here, because program trading is program trading. I mean, we've kind of seen what he can do at this point. And then outside of them, I just think you got some questions to answer with some other runners.
Yeah, and I think this is an okay grade 2. No, you talked about serious turf horses. I don't, program trading's a real runner, and we talked about the 7 he could be, but you wouldn't lose sleep if you had a horse in this race taking on this field, right? You wouldn't. You'd think, okay, for a $500,000 race, it's not the toughest grade 2 in history. So, it could be. We both could be true. He may or may not be the most serious turf horse ever, but he may not have to be to win this one.
Yeah, if I had him, I would definitely like my chances, especially with the rest of the group in here. Program trading, you have second, I have third. It's more of a default third for me, just because I think this field maybe came up a little bit lackluster compared to some previous years. Got back to his winning ways last time, just a few weeks ago, down there right at Monmouth Park. Paul, that field he beat was just a joke. I mean, not to say you or me couldn't beat that field, because that's probably a little disrespectful. But I mean, some of those horses that he faced that day, granted, he was impressive in victory, but I don't know. I mean, if Justice Touch comes with his best, like I said, I wouldn't be all that scared of this runner. I don't know. He's just not as good as he used to be.
Yeah, I think that last time Noah was clearly a case of Chad wanting to get the horse back in the winner's circle.
Yeah.
Horses do have confidence and lack confidence. They're bright individuals. So I think that was a case of, knowing Chad, Chad plays chess. He was probably thinking it through. He knows he's going to win that race at a very low price. And if, he can then gauge whether to go on to this race, quite frankly, right? And, so I think it's extremely logical. I think it's logical that he ran in that race last time against that field that he laid over. And I think it's logical that he goes here. I agree with you. I mean, he's another horse who's burned up a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank him for not getting there in the turf mile.
Yeah.
I'm still holding my breath for that one. But, certainly, again, solid horse. And if Just a Touch isn't the bee's knees on turf, this horse is one of the ones to consider.
Yeah. Am I correct in my assumption that the majority of the money is going to run through the 4 and the 7? I'm sure you would agree with that, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
The thinking with the topic here for me, Echo Lane. I know you got him in third, so obviously you like him something.
Absolutely.
But I just feel like there's a chance he's way too big of a price for me to pass up with the money that I think could be allocated to those two runners. And I think the thing that makes him most appealing, take a look at the ways that he's been able to get things done with Saez aboard. And Saez hasn't been on him for some time. I think it's going to be advantageous that Saez hops on him here on Saturday, just because it seems like some of the other runners haven't been quite as aggressive. Edwin was maybe a little aggressive with him. Sonny was pretty passive. And Arietta was definitely very passive last time. Saez is he's the complete opposite. Saez is going to get him and get his horses involved. He's lost to basically the best turf marathoner we've had in quite some time in Burnham Square.
Yeah.
Really wasn't that far off of him two back. I know maybe last time was a little disappointing. But an inside post, he's probably going to save some ground, hopefully going to be a little more forward than he has been as of late. Why can't he upset at 6 or 8 to 1? I think you'll probably get that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good pick. No, I took a long look at this horse. Almost put him second. And to your point about the company lines, with Burnham Square, he didn't really go by anyone though in that Louisville handicap. Burnham Square Burnham Square's steamrolling horses. But yeah, no, I will have the horse as a B on my grid. I think and at that price, I think you make an excellent point with Saez. We've seen hundreds of these turf marathons won on the front end, right? Mm-hmm. And we know that's exactly where Louis prefers to be. So I think that is an astute observation on your part, Noah.
Appreciate that, Paul. And I agree. I think it's gonna be a little overlooked. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. What won't be overlooked is race 12 on the program, and that is the Grade 1 Haskell Stakes. NYRA bets Haskell. I'll get it up on the screen, and there it is. $1 million purse, mile and 1/8 for the 3-year-old boys. They do have the morning lines out for this race. They've actually been out for a little while, I believe. Morning line favorite here is the Spendthrift Homebred. That's the number 2, Further Ado. Irad rides Brad Cox Strange. He's 2-1 on the morning line. Second choice is your Preakness winner. It's the 6, Napoleon Solo. Paco Lopez and Chad Summers at 5-2. Third choice was the runner-up in that same race. That's the number 5, Iron Honor, Fabian Pratt and Chad Brown conditions this 3-year-old colt. We will get the picks up on the screen. I am going 4-6-2. Paul, you are going 2-4-7. You are going with Further Ado, favored in the Derby. As of recent form, kind of lies as really the only outlier to his success as a recent, very successful winner of the Bluegrass 3-back. Impressive winner last time down at Churchill Downs. Plain and simple, he's the horse to beat, and you can't deny that.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta, the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's me. I'm the stupid part. But look, if I'm betting this horse as the favorite in an 18-horse Kentucky Derby, I gotta bet him as the favorite in this Haskell.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I thought that was a pretty. He did what he had to do last time. Coming off the Derby. That wasn't the most difficult race of all time. Although our money man came back and ran big and just sold for $2 million yesterday, I think.
Yeah, to Saudi. Yeah, $2 million. 2
million Scarolas. So, I think the horse is versatile. I think the whole this is a Keeneland specialist is a stupid argument, and that was a knock going into the Derby. Obviously, he ran just fine at Churchill last time. What it boils down to for me is I'm against the horses coming out of the Preakness. And I know, was that a better race than this? Probably. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I shouldn't say probably. I just don't want. I thought it was as weak a Preakness as we've seen in quite a while. And unfortunately, they'll be getting weaker. So, what we should do is we should keep running it 2 weeks after the Derby because it's going really, really well. And we're getting all those Triple Crown chances. And it's just a great idea to keep running it 2 weeks after the Derby. I don't want those horses, So therefore, that led me to Further Ado. It led me to the Puma off the long layoff, which I don't love, but the Puma was, going to take a lot of action in the Derby if he had made the Derby, and a Sully does what a Sully does, right? Becomes a millionaire. It actually could become a millionaire as a maiden in this race.
Yeah, that's an interesting storyline for sure. I want to get your take on this, Paul. I kind of feel like we don't know how good Further Ado is, which I think in most ways is a bad thing, but in some ways is also a good thing, because I think if you look at both his Bluegrass and his Matt win, not only did he get very good trips, basically just stalking off the leader, his main rival in both of those races basically lost all chance at the start. One of them being in the Bluegrass, that was Reagan's Honor, who was supposed to be on the lead, didn't break at all, and he was basically done after that. And then last time, the question was whether Potente was maybe going to put some pace pressure on him, and he definitely didn't break all that well. So I think it begs the question, how good really is he? Because there's some instances where he faces some pace pressure and isn't as good, but there's also some cases where he faces some pace pressure and he answers the bell, where he kicks away from those horses and runs a number similar to what we saw in the Bluegrass, or maybe even better. So I don't know. I think it begs the question, how good really is he?
Yeah, and in fairness, though, as you describe it, which is very well, you're kind of supposed to bet against him as the favorite, right? Mm-hmm. With that type of scenario. But, as I said, I think he's better than these horses. not to repeat, I don't want the horses out of the Preakness, and I'll take my chances with him beating the Maiden Aselli and Baby Vino coming out of the Monmouth Cup for this. So, the one thing you said that I resonates with me, he could be really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
He could be, he could be a type of horse that he's dressed up or whatever, but he could be really, really good. Now, and if he is, I suspect that this might be the sweet spot distance-wise too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you could definitely be right about that. I think the 9 furlongs could certainly hit him between the eyes for sure. Some respect there, but I think with that stance, like you said, I'm supposed to take a bit of a stance against him if he is going to be favored once again. I went to the Puma, the off chance that he's going to be fourth choice in here. I think is probably it's appealing enough for me to take a chance with him. It just seems like with the issues that he had leading up to the Derby, doesn't it seem like this spot's always been circled on their calendar? And he's another one I don't really know how good he is, but there's some upside. We don't really know how good he is. Saya's, I think I don't mind the booking. And I know Javier is sitting at home wishing that he could be riding this race in Oceanport, but I think the booking to size, I don't have much of a problem. And I think there's versions of this race where you get speed from Further Ado. You're obviously going to get some speed from Napoleon Solo. I think in a weird way, the key to the race could be the Chad runner, whether he decides to press Napoleon Solo like he did last time, or whether they say that didn't work last time, maybe we're going to back off of him, which in theory is a little bit why I like Napoleon Solo. He's got him in second. But I think there are, like I said, some versions of this race where things do heat up front. The Puma can handle 9 furlongs. And I think the break's probably going to do him some good, whereas some of these other horses have had some other dates, frankly, circled on their calendars where, the connections in this runner have been waiting for their spot.
Well, I think that the reason I think that's a good point, Noah, is off this long layoff, there certainly were easier spots for them to pick. Still Derby. We just had an Ohio Derby a couple of weeks ago. We had 2 in the Midwest last week. Not that they're necessarily looking, but my point is, if they weren't ultra confident, that's not a bad way to put them back into the shallow end, so to speak. They knew, for $1 million, you're going to get some good horse flesh in this race. So
no doubt.
I do think it's a very confident placing, and I like that. As far as the connections, and I think they want to see where they're at. They believe they have one of the best 3-year-olds, and this is where to prove it. And I think if he runs the way they expect him to run, he'll be on a van heading north after this.
I would be pretty shocked if he wasn't at least third choice. I have a hard time believing that Iron Honor is going to be a shorter price than he is. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's a shorter price than Napoleon Solo, because I think a lot of people are astutely going to take the stance that you did, where, hey, the Preakness just wasn't all that good this year. They just kind of ran around the track and on a speed favoring dirt course. And, those are horses that you're supposed to play against next time. But I've got him in second mainly because number one, Paco is a machine here, regardless of what you think about him as a person. I mean, 46% for the races so far here at Monmouth. I mean, this guy just wins races. And like I said, I think if the connections of Iron Honor decide, hey, we don't want to play his game like we did last time because that didn't work out for us, if they decide to back off, he's probably going to be tough to catch. Whether or not, he can go, all that fast and hold these runners off obviously remains to be seen. But I think if he's a contender where I think if he floats up to a reasonable price, maybe a 7-2 or a 4-1, I could see myself playing him. So that's the thought for me there. Much more interested at the morning line prices, at least with the Puma, with the upside, the break that he's had versus Napoleon Solo in second. And then Paul, we got to mention pretty much Howard's favorite horse at this point in time. And that is the number 7 Oselli, who I know a lot of people, especially on Twitter, were hoping that they would cut him back after the Ohio Derby. And they end up right here again in a 9 furlong race.
Boy, what an interesting horse. And, certainly he looked like a winner. He looked like he made a winning move. Actually, it looked like he made a winning move in the Derby, too, when push comes to shove, right?
Yeah, he tends to do that.
But, again, like I say, I'd love to have paid $12,000 for him and have him still be a maiden with $830,000 in the bank and a chance to go over $1 million in this race. I don't want him on the win end, obviously, but there's probably one of these races has his name on it. I think it's more likely to be at Charlestown than Monmouth or something of that ilk. Kind of, they would. But having said that, they went to Ohio and same story, right?
Yeah.
So look at God love them. You got to like their aggressiveness. Whit Beckman is a underrated trainer. Obviously done a fantastic job to get this horse into these races and run as well as he has.
Yeah, I give him props for that. I mean, he's had some challenges in front of him, and he doesn't care. He just he'll throw him in the Derby, throw him to the Wolves, throws him in some races that maybe he doesn't deserve to be in. And even though he hasn't won, he's definitely proven himself to be, maybe not the best 3-year-old in the crop, but a damn good one, I think. So should be interesting in the Haskell on Saturday, Paul. We'll do some bets, and I apologize. The England and Argentina game's going on, so I don't know if you can hear those guys.
I got Argentina just went ahead.
Oh, they went ahead. Okay. Is it 2-1?
Yeah. 2 goals in about 5 minutes.
Wow. 2-1 score, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's wrap up these best bets so we can check out the last few minutes of that game. Paul, you are keying in on the United Nations, which goes as race 11. You like just a touch, and then playing that double with a couple runners on the back end.
Yeah, I figured I'd, since we were all over the place, I'd limit it to a double. And it's just a touch, nothing too creative, just a touch with further ado. And the Puma, your guy, that would definitely be a better option. But and again, I wouldn't be playing just a touch to win at 8-5 either. So that would have to depend on the board.
Yeah, I like it. Good luck with your best bets. I'm going to go in race number 6. That is the Molly Pitcher with the 7 Splendora, who's obviously going to be favored. I want to give Alpine Princess one more try, so I'm going to throw her in that double as well. Use those 2, 6, and 7 into the 3 City Girl, who Paul and I both liked. Obviously, we showed that trouble last time out in New York. I think faces much easier test on Saturday at Monmouth, and probably going to be a little bit closer to the pace, which obviously she prefers. And then I'll go ahead and play that exact, or maybe even a backup exact at 1-3. But I do want to involve the one Sweet Treasure, I believe is her name, the Cox runner to the inside, at least to some degree, because I think she's definitely the main threat to her in that race as well. Paul, appreciate you joining me. Taped episode. Appreciate your time. Any final thoughts, Paul?
No, I think we got a great day of racing Saturday, and especially at this card at Monmouth. So I think we'll all of those of us who will be at Saratoga will have our eyes glued to a device that we can wager these on. We should mention any of our HHH friends who are going to be at Saratoga. We're going to be in the Jim Dandy bar, which
there it is right there.
If you walk out of the paddock and go straight into the track, you'll see go right by the Jim Dandy will be right there. We're in there at 12:30, I believe, Noah, on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's before the first race. So if you're there,
12:30. Yeah, we'll be there. Yeah. First race is what 1:10 maybe.
Yeah, 1:10. So probably in the 12:30 to 12.
If you're there, stop by. If you're there Friday, I'll be signing my book, my Cody's Wish book, outside the Jockey Silks room from 11 to 1 on Friday. So stop by. If you missed that, I'll be at Impressions of Saratoga on Broadway on Saturday night from 7 to 9.
Nice.
So I'm covering some ground on this weekend, and we'll be doing some work for the special and spending some time with the HHH crew, which I greatly look forward to.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun this week, Paul. Appreciate the time, and if you guys are in the area, of course, come meet us, come check us out. We'll share a beverage and have a good time. So looking forward to that as well as everything else that precedes the racing here at this ball. Paul, appreciate the time. This has been episode 481 of Picks and Ponies, taking you through the Haskell and the stakes going on down in Oceanport, New Jersey at Monmouth Park. And until next time, crush your bets.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.